Hello you guys, and welcome back to video 4 in the Nostalgic School Days memory keeping and documenting your memories. And so today we are discussing your fave subject, your favorite school subject. What was it in school that you looked forward to learning or doing, or what was your thing that you loved to do? So with this, we have an art project, so get your apron on and get your paints out or your markers out or whatever you want to use for your project. And we're going to kind of go back in time to when maybe you were in kindergarten or first grade, and we always had these cheapy paper plates and used them for making things. You know, you could fold them up, make them into like a pocket. You could have put rice in there, made them into musical instruments. So these were so versatile in school. Now my whole plan was to actually get the ones that were a little bit smaller, because we're going to make a rainbow, and we're going to write on the rainbow something that you wish you could tell your younger self, or maybe just a quote or something like, never stop dreaming, follow your heart, keep making art, anything like that, that was something that you would like to put at the end of your rainbow, so to speak. So like I said before, in a lot of the projects that we're doing, and the theme of this book is to kind of just really take yourself back to being a kid again and having fun. So today we are going to have fun making a paper plate rainbow. And then I'm going to go into and show you how I documented our favorite subjects. So it's going to be a little written note, but we'll go into that in just a minute. So let's first make our get our rainbow down. So I basically took this paper plate and cut it directly in half. So this is what it would look like if it was in half, right? And then I just cut out a section of it to kind of create a rainbow. So it took me a little while. You can see it's kind of wonky, but like I said, we're in kindergarten and we're having fun, and we're okay with wonky. And so then I kind of smashed it out. And at first I was like, how am I going to get my paint to stick on this slick surface? I would have to put like I thought about getting like a file, like a fingernail file or something like that, and sanding it down. And then I flipped it over. I said, well, there's my answer. All I have to do is flip it on the other side. So getting our little book out, because what I'd like to do now, if you don't have any paper plates, cardstock, any kind of thing would work. Old scrapbook paper, because you're going to be painting over it, anything that you have. So I really wanted to be able to put mine in my book. So like I said, it was kind of too big, so I think what I'm going to have to do is either put a string on mine, which is what I kind of think I'm going to do. I'm going to punch a hole in here, and I'm going to add a string. And although it's going to stick out some, this is kind of like a junk journal, so I'm okay with it. If you're not okay with it, trim it down. Actually, maybe I'll trim it down too. Trim your rainbow down, and where it does fit in there. I'm still going to do a string on mine, but that way it doesn't stick out as much, so if I want to put it on a shelf, it will work. Okay, so this is so simple, you guys. And like I said, we're having fun, we're getting messy. I'm not going to do the traditional colors of the rainbow. I'm going to do my candy color paints that I like, which is, I'm going to be using this purple color. What color is this? Festival Pink, which is kind of a muted pink color. I also like any pink, it doesn't matter. I'm actually going to come in here and probably highlight it some with some darker colors or some lighter colors and some white. So just keep that in mind. Turquoise, I love turquoise, and this is light yellow. So like I said, I'm just going to do mine in a candy coated colors, and go for it there. And I'm just getting my paint, and I'm just gonna make myself a rainbow. Now I'm also planning on coming in here, I'm gonna find me some tissue paper, and I'm gonna add little bits of tissue paper to my rainbow as well. I'm gonna kind of make it into like a mixed media piece, and then that way it's super super creative is what I'm going for here. So I thought about adding, I definitely did think about adding some cotton balls in there. You know, because I really did look on Pinterest, and that was the big thing, is just putting cotton balls on your rainbow. So that could be something we could do. But I'm thinking almost maybe along the lines of adding some tissue paper on the end. So we're just, I'm kind of winging it as I'm going along, but I have some thoughts, ideas in my head of what I'd like to have my rainbow. I'm being pretty generous with the paint, because we're going to let it dry before we start adding all the fun things to it. I think I'll do pink next. I think I might do, yeah, I'm going to do this more muted color, because these colors are kind of a more muted paint than. So let's talk about favorite teachers, or not favorite teachers, favorite school subjects. So really it depended on what grade I was in, I guess, as what was my favorite. But overall, if y'all can't guess, art. So that is going to be my subject. And my note to myself is going to be, don't stop making art. As I got older, I took art all through high school, and I wish I would have continued in an art career, but I didn't know. I didn't know the thing to do, and so I wish I would have talked more to my counselors or my teachers and kind of was like, what can I do as a career in art? And then that way I could continue doing. But I'm not going to beat myself up about it. You can't go back. But I think that would be follow your dream, or don't stop making something along the lines. I'm going to kind of give it some thought in here. You can see I smudged mine. I kind of like that actually. But I'm going to let that dry because we want to come in here and add some fun things to it. But in the meantime, I'm going to let this dry a little bit so I don't any more smear. But I don't know. I kind of like it that way. So, so get your plate out or your cardstock and make yourself a rainbow and pick your favorite colors. Alright, so talking about the favorite subject, I'm going to come in here, and now I wrote my dad's on the back of this art palette that was part of those inserts, those die cuts that I had, the large die cuts that I had in my book. And I just basically wrote about his story, which was he liked art and drafting, especially once he got into high school. And he had a friend they would draw battleships together, and the art teacher wanted him to actually take some special classes at UT, which is University of Texas. But of course he was always working with his dad, and they just couldn't afford art school. So that kind of wasn't in his cards. And so, and then talking to my mom, she loved to read. I mean, she still is a big reader. So I'm going to just kind of create a background for her page. And then, like I had mentioned in some other videos, I've been looking everywhere for, I have a picture of my dad in middle school as well. And I've been looking everywhere for it, and I can't find it. It's going to show up, but I do want to include it in the book. But I have one of my mom, and I actually made it larger. I scanned it in and made it larger, and so I'm going to be using this as part of the background for this particular art piece. So I think what I'm going to do is, where's my red marker? I think I'm going to come in here and paint a few of these little apples. I mean, color them in with marker and with some green leaves. I can find a red. Oh, is this red? These, it looks orange, but then I had one that looked yellow, and see, it's kind of an orange color, but, oh wait, here we go. Here's a red. That's red. So I'm going to just come in here and randomly color some of these. And it's not going to be anything, you know, perfect. It's just going to be kind of like a scribbly apple. Oops. I don't even know which one of these will show, but I'm just gonna, we can always come in and add more if we need to. Okay. So I'm gonna put her in here, and I actually thought about, like, maybe I'll color this one. I actually thought about, I was trying to find a book. Her favorite, she said she didn't really have a subject, but that she loved to read. I think I already talked about that, but that was kind of in her interview questions. So I'm going to just kind of put her there. And then I thought about adding this card, this library card. And then I have a few little die cuts I printed. I love this. I love to read because it's just perfect fitting. But then I like this owl because he is reading. So I thought I could do like a layering. I didn't want to cover up the letter, the wording. And then I may just run this. I don't want to cover up the school year and everything like that. Okay, so I think I'm just going to do that. And, here we go. I'll just use a tape runner. Like this. I should have shut my door. I hear, y'all probably can't hear it, but I can hear the clanging of dishes in the other room. What's interesting is that Austin was a lot smaller. I kind of want that apple to show in the background a little bit. Back then they only had, like, I think two high schools they said. Now, oh my goodness, there's so many, and then you've got all the suburbs off of Austin. But that's where my parents met, was in high school. And then I think these are like a little sticker. They're really old, so I probably need to add some adhesive on the back here. Just to give them that more stickiness. And then I have these fun little pencils that crayons that I can include. There. Oh, perfect. Here's a set of books too. Okay. So, I'm going to get my yellow marker out. And I love outlining. Just to kind of add in the page. Oops, made it. Okay, so I think I'm going to color in this apple down here as well. Over here. I thought you'd be able to see more apples underneath here, but that's okay. We just kind of wanted to put a little background in the picture. So, and so we're going to write in here, Mom loves to read, and she I don't have my book, but it was A Galloping Gas Stove was one of her favorite books growing up. So we're going to write that in there. So we'll come back and journal that part of this page. So let's go ahead and work on our rainbow, finish it up. So you have your rainbow here, and I just came across the tissue paper. I have this, and I have my blue tissue paper. So you've seen me play with this in there already. And so I think we're just going to continue. I'm just going to add little bits and pieces onto my rainbow. And then I have my blue, this is what I just found. And we're going to make our puffy little clouds. So I'm just going to kind of crinkle these up like this. And add these. I want them to lay flat though, because I want to be able to put them in my journal. And you're just making them, basically wadding them up like they're trash. And we're going to put those on the end. So I'm going to get out my glue, my Mod Podge glue. And I'm just going to kind of randomly put these little strips on here. Like that. Get the glue off of there. So going back and thinking about just stuff, I guess looking at to where I was, where I am now, to when I was a kid, and trying to figure, I mean, when you're little, like in elementary, you're not really thinking about it. I don't think. I didn't. Not that I can remember, but I know my daughter, she immediately wanted to be a school teacher. I hope she sticks with it. She's going into high school this year, and she still is expressing that she wants to be a school teacher, which that's pretty awesome. I think I wanted to be a librarian, and then it got to when I got a little older. To be honest, I wanted to make art all the time. I know I was talking to my mom the other day, and she said, "Oh, I just remember you're always wanting to, you always had your sketch, that's all you ever wanted was a sketch pad." Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of make it where, because this is gonna dry clear, so I'm just kind of trying to get it stuck together so it doesn't come unravel, because you want it to be glued where the puff ball doesn't come undone. Like I said, this is messy, and I'm gonna have to go wash my hands after this, but that's okay. That's part of having fun. We're being 5 years old again. Okay. So we got our tissue paper. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more. And we're going to come back in and touch it up and put our quote. We got to get this to dry first. Whoops. And if you don't have tissue paper, you can use crepe paper. If if you don't have blue or you want to do a different color, we're going to come in here and I'm going to show you how to add a little bit of, because I'll be adding a little bit of paint to those as well. But we're going to give it a little bit, set it aside, and let it dry. And then we're going to come back and put it together. Alright, you guys, so I have put some, the paint that I used to paint the rainbow, and I'm just mixing it in with some white. And I'm just going to come in here and highlight some of the areas with the white paint. Just to kind of make it not so dull, but to kind of bring some white out into the rainbow. And also I'm just kind of blending in the edges of that tissue paper that I used. Whoop. My water is a little on the gross side. And I know what I did was I kind of used up quite a bit of the, I'm going to have some paint left over, and basically what I will do is I have another project that I'm working on, and I will come in here and use it. Man, it's kind of, paintbrush wasn't quite clean. I covered up some of my tissue paper, so I think I'm just going to take off some of this and bring it in and add it into the paint with the paint. Uh-oh. And actually what I can do is kind of take my water and squirt it onto some of these, and that way it thins out that paint just a little bit to where it doesn't make it so opaque. Because really I'm just wanting to highlight some of the colors. Make it a little bit more artsy. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to add some white paint to my clouds. Actually, of course, I'm going to be adding glitter to this. Then I'm going to put a little bit of polka dots on there. I'm going to be adding some glitter, and of course, as we mentioned earlier, we're going to come in here and write or stamp. I might stamp instead. I'm just putting some polka dot on my clouds here. And actually it's like 100 degrees outside, so I think I might go set mine outside to dry. And it'll dry a little quicker. Alright, it's looking pretty fun. Okay, so I'm gonna again let this dry, and then we're gonna come in here and stamp, add glitter, dry again, and then we'll put it in our book. Alright, you guys, so let's wrap this project up. So I have my rainbow, and I'm gonna actually add it to my journal, and I think what I'm gonna do is kind of add it right like this. And so I'm just gonna punch a hole in my rainbow about right there. And I mean, you could, no, it wouldn't probably fit like that, but I'm gonna tie it in. So I have this fabulous yarn. It's called Pom Pom, and it's at Hobby Lobby. I love it. This is another one that I've purchased before, and I have looked for this before when it probably a few years ago, and I could not find it, but they now carry it, and I love wrapping journals in this, so that's really fun. But anyway, I'm gonna use it to put in my journal, so I'm gonna go ahead and run my stream through, and then but I'm gonna stamp out the letters. And so I kind of went back and forth on exactly what I wanted to put. I'm going to be using these really large stamps. You could definitely write it. Bubble letters would be super cute, but I'm going to go ahead and, you know what, bubble letters would be cute, but we're going to go with the original plan and do a stamping. So I just got some blue ink to kind of pull in the blue, and I'm going to put believe. So, because I think that if you know, that's the whole thing, is when you're growing up, you got to believe in yourself, and don't listen to anybody. I mean, listen to advice and stuff, but make sure that you follow your heart and go with what the talent that God has given you. And so I really do feel like if you listen to that, it makes things a lot easier. So, I'm going to do that. And actually, probably the bubble letters would have been really cute, but that's okay. We can doll these up too. B-L-I-E. I'm going to be out. I love these extra big ones, because especially when you need a big space to cover. Okay. And actually, we could come in here and I think I'm going to get out my watercolor markers and just kind of highlight this around here. Color in some yellow. I love these things, as long as they don't get, I think that may be too dark. Let me pull these down so we can get a closer look at them. Cover these up. Cover the ink up here. The ink's probably going to take a little bit of time to dry, so I'm going to not do the I'm not going to do the glitter just yet. But what color is this? Mint. It's like perfect shading to this. Almost doesn't even show up. It matches so good. I need to pull in a little bit darker. And this can be accomplished even with markers or crayons or anything like that. So I'm just going to put, I love how that, just kind of putting a contrast onto there. So I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to come in and add the glitter to it. And there we have it, and we'll tie it in. I'll show you guys real quick how I am going to tie this in. And I'll have a final picture up on my blog. Oh, just real quick. So I added this one with my dad's information, my mom's. And then I had just put my favorite subject was definitely art. Also really liked American literature and history. And that's going to come in tomorrow. That's going to come into play with tomorrow's journal entry, because I talk about favorite teachers. And I guess to me, which teacher stood out the most was my American literature teacher in I had him both in 7th and 8th grade. His name was Mr. White, and he introduced me to Edgar Allan Poe and all those awesome Emily Dickinson's, all the really great writers, and made it where you wanted to know more. It was so interesting. So he was definitely one of my favorite teachers. Alright, so I'm just going to see how that closes. I know it still sticks out a little bit, but I think that's what kind of makes it fun. And you can make it where it's not so tied up against there, which that's probably what I'll end up doing. It doesn't have to be, you kind of want it dangling out here a little bit. Perfect. Alright, you guys, I enjoyed that. That was fun. So, alright, I will wrap it up here, and we'll see you tomorrow in the next video.